Hello, and welcome to the Fun Day Sunday stream. If you're watching this in the replay, I might have gotten around to giving you some timestamps in the description below, so check that out. But for now, we're just going to hang around a little bit and see if we can get some people onto the stream and organize myself and the family that needs to leave the room a little. So let's check this out. We will do some sharing to see if we can get some people to join. And then we should get going. And if you're new around here, remember to like and subscribe and all of that stuff. There's even a newsletter in the description that you can sign up for. Adding it to some Discord groups. And today we're going to see if I can make some data visualization with just HTML and CSS in React. So there will be some JS, of course, but I want to see if I can do this without a library. Last Sunday, we looked at Nivo. In the description, there should be a link to that video and also the results of what we were doing last week. We got quite far, but I don't know if we really needed something like Nivo, which is a framework that's on top of D3. I think after stream last time, I was like, but these visualizations that I'm trying to do are pretty simple. So maybe I should just try and make them myself instead of having like a huge library to do them. Okay, and then let's do a little bit of a tweet. We'll be ready to go. I don't know if you can see it, but there's some new branding going on in the YouTube channel. I'm now Ray Codes, and there is a nice little logo up. No, I'm always wrong. When am I going to learn this? Up. Ooh. There is the new logo. Ooh. Finally. I don't know what happened, but last week, things just like boom. Suddenly I was like, yeah, this is going to be my logo. These are my colors. Just like boom, boom, boom. I finally had a breakthrough on how I want my personal site to look and kind of my YouTube. And that's our intern, Lillian. Hello. And it was just a great feeling. Like things were just like clicking and like falling into place really nicely. So I guess after Easter, I'm going to give kind of this content creation YouTube channel a little bit of another go and see if I can make something out of it, because I really enjoy streaming, and I have now been speaking to some people who can edit videos, and that just gave me so many ideas when I know that I don't have to edit, because I love these streams, but I also want to make... Yeah? Oh yeah, tack. But I also have some really good, or I think good ideas on how to explain some programming concepts, but in a more edited format. And I'm doing these streams now because I don't really have time to edit, and also just because I love these streams. I get to talk things through with people, and just getting kind of it's kind of my writing. People say that you should write every day and kind of verbalize whatever your thoughts are to kind of get clear. But I'm kind of using these streams for that. So after the streams, I always have like a ton of ideas that so many things I want to do. So hopefully if I can collaborate with somebody who can edit videos a little better than me and a little faster than me, maybe I can actually start doing some of those ideas. But until then, I will just keep on doing streams. So if you're watching, I would love to know where you are tuning in from. are you in Norway like me, or you're somebody else somewhere else in the world? You could also let me know if you see this in the replay. It's always nice to kind of know where people, are tuning in from and what they're doing and stuff like that. I'm just going to add to the Twitter that we are live, the tweet that we are live, and I hope to see some people. Or not, I will still code, we are live. Okay, so today's work, I can see that, I'm not going to organize that now, but I can see that my light's in my eyes. It's not that good. Okay. And I don't know what's happening to the lights. Who cares? We're just going to code. It's an amazing, well, now it went away, but it's been an amazing day in Oslo. Like, I couldn't have my curtain up because the sun was just like shining straight onto my face, and spring is coming. Spring is energy. I can't wait for this spring. It's going to be such a cool spring. So I'm going to now share my screen, and let's have a look at what we are doing. And then I just closed it down. GitHub. We are working on a GitHub issue. So I'm going to add the screen. There we go. There is our screen. First, for the people who are new, we are working on, or my kind of baby at the moment is POW, the Privacy First Menstrual Cycle Journal. Take charge of your cycle. And today we're going to look at some ways to illustrate or visualize the cycles. And I have had a user give me some great ideas here in a GitHub issue about how we could visualize the cycles. So what's special with POW is the privacy, of course, but also that instead of giving you kind of options for that you can choose for your symptoms and how you're feeling and stuff like that, you can just like write free form, more like a journal, and then you hashtag the stuff that makes sense to you instead of having to like fit it into pre-populated slots. So you just hashtag things, and then afterwards, I'm guessing, or I'm hoping, or I want to kind of look at some visualization to see if there are some trends. So that is what somebody has tried to, or Netzberg has come up with here as a suggestion for POW, is that we can show them as little bars, and then these little circles are the different tags. So that would be hashtag grumpy, hashtag sad, and hashtag headache, that somebody then has decided, oh, I want to look at these 3 tags, and then I want to see them visualized. And she had a very good point, because I've been thinking cycles are different lengths, as we can see here on screen. And I've been thinking that, okay, we need to take then this 28-day cycle and 29 and 25 and kind of like normalize them, I guess is the word. I'm not very skilled in data science yet, but so we would like to normalize them so that 28 kind of gets stretched out to 30, and 29 gets stretched out to 30, and 25 gets stretched out to 30, so that we can visualize the end of the cycle and the middle of the cycle, no matter how long it is. But then I got a good tip here from Netzberg that the end phase of your cycle are often more equal length than the beginning. So it's the beginning of the cycle before ovulation that changes, but the after ovulations is less variable. So she said maybe you should write a line, as we can see in this example, so that it's easier to kind of get an overview of your own cycle or tags. So that's the plan for today, is to see, can we make this type of a system but with grid? So last time we did, I'm going to open it up, the new code sandbox. So last Sunday, I started working on this kind of type of visualization with a framework called Nevo. And we got something that looked pretty much, it's close to what we want, but it's always normalized. So I couldn't figure out a way to get this right aligned or left aligned. It's always normalized, like the length is stretched out no matter what the length is. And then also, as I said, after stream, I was like, maybe this is a little bit of an overkill. I should be able to do this with some CSS and CSS grid. But the thing is, I have somehow managed to kind of just jump over grid. So I've been coding professionally for like 10 on and off for 10 years, and then I've been coding on and off for 20 years. So I quickly felt that I was pretty proficient with CSS because I always liked the visual side of things. So I learned quite a bit of CSS like way back when. And it served me well. And I also use these like UI frameworks on the front end. So with my kind of CSS knowledge and these frameworks, I can make pretty much whatever I want to make. So whenever I've needed grid, I was like, oh, I'm just going to do it in Flexbox because I already know it, or some kind of other solution. And all in the back of my mind, like, I need to learn this grid stuff because it looks, and I know that it is super cool, but it's a little complex to kind of get started. So I kind of just skipped over grid, which is a little embarrassed to say now that I haven't written one grid thing. So that's what we're going to try to do today is try to make this using grid. So I took the data from last time and I kind of cleaned it up a bit so that it looks like something we might need. So here are our cycles from these bars here. So it's this one, it's these three, I think, these four maybe. Let's see how many we have. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So it's kind of like these. I tried to match it to these examples so we can see if we have something that looks similar. And yeah, let's get going. So first off, I know I need to loop through this. Loop through my cycles and then create one kind of bar per cycle. So let's make a component for the bar or the cycle bar. We'll return a bar. To get started. So if I cycle through my bars and then render out the bar component, we should be good. If you are watching this in the replay, I would be very interested in knowing kind of if so I'm doing this on Sundays at 10 in the morning, my time. So that would be 10 o'clock GMT +1. So I think in England, it's 9 o'clock right now or 9:15. So let me know if you're watching this in the replay in the comments. Let me know if that's too early for you, if there's other times that would be more helpful. It's kind of early for me, but I really like getting my day started because I think if I didn't do these streams on Sunday, I would still be in bed. And after the stream, the family usually goes into the woods to do something together. So it's trying to fit that in a time slot where not much else is happening. But I also want to have some discussions on stream. So let me know if there's another time that would be more beneficial for you. And also hit the comments and tell me what I could have done better on this stream, both in terms of tech like the audio, video stuff, but also the code. I would love to get some feedback on the code, even bad feedback. So we have managed, now we have 4 bars. Yes, bar. And it's going to take in the cycle. So we're going to spread the cycle data. Spread the cycle data. So that would then give us in our props. I'm going to deconstruct the props right away. We're going to have a start. We're going to have a stop. i.e. whatever properties we have in our object down here. We should have a length. And then there's the tags. Okay. So let's just write some of these out. Start, stop. So doing the bar, let's do the start, stop, which equals to a length. Have our data. I always like to have something visual on screen that I can see that all my data is flowing through correctly before I start designing it, so that I kind of know that I don't have to bug fix that part. The length, and then we can do the tags underneath. So then we need a line break or break. I guess the tag stands, the BR element stands for tags, map, sorry, tag. Span, and then we'll do the tag. Oh, that's wrong. Oh, I'm missing the map. Tags. Oh, it's not a map. It's a it's an object, of course. So it's not a map. It's not an array. It's an object. So I can't really loop over it, can I? But we can do object keys. Object keys on the tag. And then we get the then we get 24, 25, 30. So we need to write out the key. So this would be the key. And then we use the key here. Then we can also add the key beforehand to let us know what day this is on. And we could do P, so it actually, we can do paragraph so that these are divs, or not divs, but that they break like this. Okay, break like this. I need to practice my technical communication, and that is one of the reasons I'm doing these streams. Okay, so let's do this as a heading. Let's have some properly semantic in our viz already. Okay, so we have the first cycle, the second cycle, the third cycle, and the fourth cycle. Very good. Now, I'm going to go over to the part where I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. But we're going to try. So I usually end up on the huge Flexbox article by CSS Tricks. And I think they also have a grid article. They should, right? So grid, CSS Tricks, complete guide to grid. Introduction. So I'm hoping there's some kind of row. So never having used grid, this is what I'm thinking before reading about it. And I have never really read about this. So this is just like what I've kind of gotten from other people talking about it and seeing it a little bit. So I am hoping to take a grid around all of these cycle bars. And then I think I should be able, for each bar, I should be able to make a little square for each day in the cycle. So I want to loop through length and kind of write out a little box for each day in that cycle. And then if there's a tag on that cycle day, I want to add something or color it differently. We could probably do that to begin with. Let's just color the square differently. So that is kind of what I want to try to achieve. And I'm hoping that grid has some sort of row concept, but I think maybe they don't. But let's start reading about it and let's see what. And to remind everyone what we're trying to make this graph here, kind of like a bar chart. So the first is Rachel Andrews' awesome book. I know she is awesome. So I might have to buy that book. Important terminology. That's always good to start with. Yeah, so there is a grid container. And then there's a grid item, which is direct descendants of the grid container. Here the item elements are grid items, but sub-items isn't. Okay, so only the first direct descendant will be an item. Okay. Then there's the grid line, the dividing lines that make up the structure of the grid. They can be either vertical or horizontal and reside on either side of a row or a column. Here, the yellow line is an example of a column grid line. So there's the columns and there's a row. Grid cell. Okay, so I want to make a grid cell per day. The space between two adjacent rows and two adjacent column grid lines. Yeah, because that's the thing I've heard people get tripped up with when it comes to grid, is that you're not actually talking kind of the boxes. You're talking about the lines kind of between the cells is your reference. It's a single unit of the grid. Here's the grid cell between row grids 1 and 2. So grid lines 0, 1, 2, 3. No. So these are the column lines. So we're not starting with 0 like we always do in programming. We're starting with 1, it looks like, because this is row grid line 1, row grid line 2, column grid line 2, and column grid line 3. And this is our cell. Okay. The space between two adjacent grid lines, here you can think of them like the columns or rows of the grid. Here's the grid track between the second and third row grid lines. So this is a track that goes from 1 to 3. Oh, so then I could just like kind of paint over. Okay, interesting. So I might not have to like make each of these. I might not have to make a little square for each day. I might be able to just make this as a track that goes all the way to 28th. So I would need to know the length of the longest cycle. And then I would have row column line 1 and row column line 30 over here. And then this would be a track from 1 to 30. This would be a track from 1 to 28th. Interesting. And then I'm guessing here I could just flip it, and I would say this track would go from then what would be 20. So 30 minus 28. Or yeah, 30 minus 28. That would be 2. So it would go from 2 to 30, and then the other one would go from 0 to 30. That's a valid strategy, I think. Okay, grid area. The total space surrounded by 4 grid lines. A grid area might be composed of any number of grid cells. Here's the grid between. Okay, so grid track can only be the space between 2 adjacent grid lines. So I'm guessing you can go from here to there or from there to there. So you can do like a column track or a grid track. No, a column track or a row track. But the grid area will then be both rows and columns. Okay, cool. Fluid with columns that break into more or less columns. The space is available with no media queries. This sounds like magic, guys. Magic. Always sometimes when I take time to like learn something new, I'm like, why didn't I learn this before? But time, you only have so much time. Okay. Fluid with columns that break into more or less columns as space is available with no media queries. Display grid. Okay, yes. Grid template columns. Repeat auto. Okay, I'm not understanding this. Grid template columns. Repeat autofill. And then it's min max. So it should be minimum of 200 pixels and the maximum of 1 frame. And then there's a grid gap. So I'm guessing this is the grid gap. Autofill, I guess they just like fill themselves as long as they go. And they should be a minimum of 200 pixels, and that's why it's wrapping. Yeah, because now it's not wrapping, but then it's wrapping because 200 is the minimum it can be. Because now if we edit this, I love it when examples have edit possibilities. Because I'm guessing if we edit this down to 100, then it doesn't wrap because because there's space for 100. We do 300. Yep, cool. So if you just came in, say hi in the chat and let me know where you're tuning in from. Let's see. Where were we at? Okay, yes, we're going to go back to the article. Oh, wow, there's a lot of properties. Line self, place self, start, end, and so the only thing I'm wondering here is if actually Flexbox would be better, because so with grid I can see I can do the left line and I can do the right line, but can I get it to just like space out, kind of just grow equally to like fit the width? I don't know if I can do that with grid, because it seems like the grid will then either you have to do one cell or two cells or three cells. You can't say like do one a little bit of a cell. But that make it with grid, because we need to learn grid. Define the columns and rows of the grid with a space-separated list of values. The values represent the track size, and the space between them represent the grid line. Track size, line name. I need more examples. Okay, when you leave an empty space between the track values, the grid lines are automatically assigned positive or and negative numbers. Okay, so auto. So 25%, 100 pixel auto. But can I not say that I just want 30 columns? Can I do that? Column start. If your definition contains repeating parts, you can use the repeat notation. Row 1 start. Note that the line can have more than one name. For example, the second line will have two names, row 1 end and row 2 start. The second line, row 1 end and row 2 start. Okay, interesting. Defines a grid template by referencing the names of the grid. Okay. I mean, this is so powerful, but I don't know if it is what we actually need for this case. Oh, but here is a stretch. Okay, it fills the whole width of the cell, but we can't have it to. Okay, let's see if somebody has made a bar graph with grid. That would be interesting. Bar graph with grid. Of course there is. And of course CSS Tricks have made it. CSS width and height numbers of grid. Controlling height with grid cells, like here, it's convenient for design where the height is incremental by fixed value, no in-betweens. For example, signal bars on phones, like grid. Yeah, so something like this. But I needed to go the other way. We define 11 rows and 6 columns in our grid with these two little lines of CSS. 11 rows, and 6 columns. So this is the columns, I guess, and these are the rows. Okay, so let's start to see if we can have a go at this. Let's start coding again, people. So in here, then, we want a grid. I'm just going to do inline CSS for now. Display grid. And then I want it to be kind of the opposite of this. I want there to be 4 rows and then 30 columns. It's hard to code the values to begin with. Oh. And I need... Maybe I should just do a proper CSS, but we're not going to do that. We need then to do this to make it work, I guess. I'm going to remove this so I can actually see what I'm doing, and we can make this a lot smaller. So if you're not familiar with Code Sandbox, I really like it to just when you just need to play around with things, because then it's a lot easier to just play around with things when in Code Sandbox than having to like get your environment set up and get kind of POW and everything updated and blah, blah, blah. You can just play around in Code Sandbox. Okay. So grid, we then need, so we have 4 cycles. This, again, are these the rows? These are the rows. We need 4 of those. So I'm guessing then we write 3. And we need 30, or we need 0 to 30. So that would be good. Then we should start adding. So let's try to just add some stuff in here before we start using the actual cycle things. So div, this should be an item in there. And then we say, and then we say how the graph bar needs to cover the grid from the first row to the second to last row, since we're using the last one for the x-axis. And then height 100%. We need to change this up. Graph bar. So we needed to go from grid row let's see, div style, give it a background color so you can see it hopefully at some point. Background color, a clip, color blue. Then we wanted to go from grid, oh, sorry, the CSS and the JS and the blah, blah, blah. We're not going to do that discussion now. So I wanted to go from column. This is the first one. I want to go from let's look. So we wanted to go from column, but we're going to do this one. Column line 1 to column line 2, I think. What does it do -2? Spite the items from the first horizontal grid to the second last. Okay, we don't want to do that. We want to do 1 to 2. And then I'm guessing row. Oh, wait. Column. I want to go for row. No, row. Column, grid row. Sorry. I wanted to go from grid row 1 to 2, because that's a row. Those are that way. And then I wanted to go from column row that not right? No, grid column. Grid column. Oh, grid column. Then I wanted to go from 1 to 30 because I wanted to span the whole thing. Cool. And I'm guessing I have to give this some kind of height to so that it knows how. I'm not giving anything else height, so let's just do 200 pixels. Yes. Woo-hoo-hoo! We have a row. We have a row. We have a row. Okay, that's me getting very excited over small things, but you know. So if we then add this in here instead, and we comment out our other nice stuff. Can I comment? This is the thing. Can I comment in? There we go. And then we'll put our cycles inside of this div. Inside of our grid, I mean. Cool. And now we want to use some of our props. Start, stop, length. So we want to do length. So we always want to go from grid row 1 to, and we're going to use template interpolation, whatever it's called. We want to go then from grid row. Oh, we need to know what index this is. So we need to know, I'll also have to give in the index. So let's skip that for now. We'll do this one. It would be our grid column. It's how it's going to spread across. So we want to do that from 1 and then to the length of our cycle. Length. Then we want to do grid row. We want to do index. Down here, we can, in a map, we get the cycle, but then we also get the index. We need to give the, since we are in React, when we map over something, we need to have each component have a key property, and we can also give it as a prop. Okay, look at that. We have all of our cycles, but why are they equal length? That will be interesting to figure out. Let's give them different colors too, just so I can see what I'm doing. So color blue, blue, color green, color orange, and then color pink. We are not using this ID anymore, so I'm going to take that out. Then we should have a color here that we can use instead of this color, so we can see if we're actually getting color. Oh, we can't just do it like that. Of course, we need to do our string literals templates. There we go. So not exactly. Not exactly what I was hoping to achieve here. So, because the index, my index starts at 0 and their index starts at 1. So maybe we need to do a +1 here. That will looking better. But I think I messed up my rows and columns because we have the blue is over here. And then oh yeah, of course, because the blue, these are stacked on top of each other. So the blue one The blue one is the first one, and then it's the orange one, blue, green, orange, pink. Yes, so they're kind of like stacked on top of each other because we're not letting it know that it should be confined to one row. So I think I need to use the index. So we needed to go from index to index plus 1. Because now they're all going from grid row line 1, which is up here. They're all going from there and then until they're indexed. But I need them to go from, the next one needs to go from 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5. We might be missing the 5. So let's do grid row index. And don't I have to do index plus 1? Look like it. Why do I not have to do index plus 1? That's interesting. I can say from 1 to 1. Oh, that's probably because they were talking about that. They were talking about how each line has 2 names. So I'm thinking the first number is probably, it looks for the start, and the second is end. Or something like that. I don't know. Let's go back to our code. Okay, so now we have 3 of them because we said that we only wanted 3, but I think we need 5. There we go. Whoa! Whoa! We have something that looks like this. Ha ha! Ha ha! Ha ha! Ha ha! So what happens if I do plus 1 over here then? Nothing. So that is the same. I have to look that up. We need our grid columns, yes, to start from. Okay, and then good. Good. And then I'm guessing we could have another grid for this part, for our label. Or not grid, another cell. Or maybe a cell that takes up 2 spaces. So if this starts at 3, or maybe, but then we have to have plus something. So if we do 35, then we say 5 of the spaces are for our label. Why are they not going all the way? Oh, because then all of them have to go plus 5. If we leave, okay, interesting. Or not interesting, of course, that's how it works. We'll do start and stop. Okay, and we need those to be same grid row, but then we need them to be 1 and then until 5. Cool. That gives us the labels. What if I take that away? But then it grows. So it does grow. Interesting. So it does grow. I've heard that Firefox has a lot better. So 1 to 5, and then the rest is one, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so it has 4 boxes, but it just stretches that kind of first box to make sure. And then 1, 2, 3. Oh, so it has 5 rows. So we don't need. So we do 4 rows for 4 cycles. Okay. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there is a fifth line, but you say 4. Okay. But this is interesting because it just pushes everything in, but all of the kind of how they stack towards each other are the same. Okay. That is cool. Oh, sorry. But let's keep on with this. I'm gonna remove all of this label stuff and then just keep on doing what we were supposed to be doing. I cannot comment in Code Sandbox. Let's skip this 5. We'll do 1. 30. And let's check this. So none of them are 30. So we want, I'm pretty sure we have one here that says 1, 2, 30. But we have 1, oh, I can't, let's see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So why is my 0 to 30 not covering all of them? That is interesting. That is interesting. So we have 30 little cells, and I'm saying it should go from grid row index, or from 1 to 30, but it does not. Why is that? So if I do +2, then it's suddenly, why is there an extra 2 when I say 30? And here we have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, which makes sense because we have said that we want 4 rows and we want 30. Oh, it's probably that repeat. No, max content, repeat 30 auto. I don't really know what's. Is it because it keeps repeating because there's room? Not completely sure. Not completely sure. Maybe if we do width on these things, we'll see something strange happening, like it will wrap itself or something. Yep, interesting. Interesting. I need to do some research on this. Okay, but at least we're pretty well off. So now maybe if I add, I'll add our little markers. So instead of doing, and we could do gap. How did we do gap? Grid gap, but I only want gaps between the rows. Or I can do gaps everywhere because it kind of just laps over. So if we do a gap, grid gap, I need a comma, grid gap. I need some water. Grid gap to 0.5 rem. Oh, 0 rem. That's why I'm not getting any. There we go. Good one. Cool. And then we'll just do border instead to make it more like, I really like this visualization. Let's try and make it like that, almost like that. Border. border color. And then, well, let's just do border. Pixels, solid. And then it's the color at the end, isn't it? And it's just border property. Cool. And let's just do light blue. Why are you not? What's wrong? What's wrong? I just changed the freaking. This is working. And now I just want to change the color. Sometimes with Code Sandbox, you just have to refresh. Oh, hello. Good morning. Good morning. It is going good. Or right now, Code Sandbox crashed, but other than that, it's been going good. I am learning grid, which is something I have just skipped somehow. Kind of told a little story there in the beginning that I've always been fairly proficient with CSS, but at some point my learning kind of stopped because I could manage to do what I wanted pretty much, and then I kind of never got on the grid train. But for these visualizations, I had an idea after last week's streams that I could probably just do them with grid instead of using a framework. So we've gotten pretty far with that. As you can see, we have stacked up our cycles over here. And are you celebrating, what is it? Valentine's / Mother's Day today. Kind of forgot about that until now. We have sent little gifts to our moms to be, nice. Light blue. There we go. So I'm not going to use that color anymore. I'm just going to have these. So what I want to do now is I'm going to try to make the little dots that are different tags. So I'm guessing then I should be able, so let's remove this because we're not using it anymore. Not using that, but we kind of need to map over our tags again. And then place them now onto the correct grid cell. So let's do another div then. Empty div. And then we'll style it like we have done above. But instead of having them span, I keep forgetting that I don't know how to comment in Code Sandbox. So now we're just doing the same thing on top of each other again and again. But what we want to do here now is get the key, which is the day that this is happening. So we will then have to do our grid column, I guess, because we have to go to the day, and then we want to span that day and not the length. So the key should be in here. Key. Then we should just keep on going for the key. Oh, it looks like we already have them. Whoop, 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 whoop. And let's give those another color. Give those a background color as well. Background color. I cannot. I guess we can just do background blue. Looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. So I can see now that we have one that's kind of outside of our cycle, but other than that, this is starting to look pretty much like what we want to do here. But what I think is happening is that these grid lines are not staying the consistent width. I think it's trying to be smart. Oh no, it's because we have the gaps. So I don't want the gaps for the rows. I only want the gap. No, I don't want the gaps for the columns. I only want the gaps for the rows. I don't know if that is possible. Mm. Yeah, good to know that I'm not the only one who kind of, that's it's a strange thing. I think a lot of beginners now, they know a lot of stuff that I don't know because you kind of skip over parts. I think when you have learned other techniques that will get you there, you don't always have time to take the, or you don't always have the possibility to take that time to learn something new. So I'm really happy that I'm taking this time now. But they are staying the same. They are staying the same. Each of these little grid cells are staying the same width. I like that. But I'm wondering how I can make sure that the height and the width is equal, because I want these to be perfect squares so that I could make this into a circle by doing border radius 50%. Border radius. I don't know if that it would be possible to make happen with grid though. Oh, something like this. Light blue. Why is nothing happening? Did I write light? So sometimes I write these. Yes, I did. It's my dyslexia coming to haunt me. We're getting pretty, like we've gotten pretty far, I think. I'm really happy about how good this has actually gone. But let's have a look at what's happening. So we have a length of 30 on this cycle, but it stops there. And then we have the headache on the 30th day. So I think it's a little bit to do with, let's say if we do 31 on this one. Yeah. So it's a little bit to do, this trips me up all the time when I'm working with the analytics for POW. It's like, do we do day 0 to blah, blah, blah. And also, yeah. Oh, now I know why. So I want this to be 30, but since we're starting at 1, of course, this is tripping me up. So there we go. Now we have 0 to 30. It's tripping me up because grid is not 0. Its index does not start at 0. It starts at 1, which is how it should be for all languages, but almost all programming languages start at 0, right? So this is tripping me up a lot. But we've gotten pretty far. Now I want to try to do a color map for the different tags, and I think we're going to stop after that. So if we do const tags here, and we'll make a little map and equal, sorry, tags, and then I think these are all our tags. You're grumpy, sad, and headache. And in my framework that I'm using, I would probably do some kind of color magic, but here we're going to do border color. Border color, let's do green, and then background color, light green, and let's write that correctly this time. Let's have a look at what she made, just to make it a little bit similar. So we have yellow, green, and purple. Headache yellow. Light yellow. add and Grumpy's purple. Purple and then light. Tag colors. If we now go up and in here, we should be able to do some magic. So let's make this into a proper, with a proper return here. And to return this, we return the circle. Then we're going to try and find the colors. And the family is coming down because we're going into the woods, but I'm going to try and finish this before getting off the stream. Tags. Our tag name. Our tag is tags. And then the key. We're accessing the key property on our tags map. And then we're using tag as the key to access the colors on our tag color map. Colors. And then we want the border to be the colors. Border color. Yep, it's working. It's working. Oh, background color.
Ferdig med TV?
Jeg er ikke ferdig med TV. Ser du hva jeg har laget?
Ja, men hva de greiene?
Hæ, hva de greiene for noe? Du må ikke ta kamera.
Ja, men hva de?
Det pow-ting. Det viser ting i pow. Eller skal vise. There's obviously no light purple, is there?
Hvorfor skal det ikke være hjerteformet?
Hvorfor de ikke skal være hjerteformet? Det var en god idé. So Lillian is asking why they're not heart-shaped. That could be an idea. I'm trying to do... Let's do plum then. If there is no light color. No, did I close you down? No. I thought I'd done what I did a couple of weeks ago where I just closed down the streaming window, but I didn't. So let's do the background color as plum. There we go. We are pretty close. Look at that. Let's look at them side by side. I would say that is pretty close. What do you say, people? So the only thing that I really need to fix with this system is how do I make, because it's really cool that it's responsive. I mean, it's responsive without me really having to do much because we're using CSS and HTML as it should be made. But what I would love to see is that the row height follows the column height. So I have to research if that is a possibility. Yeah, I could make a little, I could of course use the little heart-shaped emojis. Lilian, du må bare stille litt til. Getting trolled by the family again. Lilian, stille. Det der er ikke stille. She's like, I'm going to be quiet. And then it's like, ah! So let's do a summary. Let's sum up what we've done today. So what we have tried to do is that we've tried to make a visualization of the menstrual cycles, as in this issue that you can find in the description. we tried to make this with CSS Grid today. Last Sunday, we made it with Nevo, a D3 framework. And today we were trying to make it with CSS Grid. And we have gotten pretty far. We have a grid here that is from grid column 1 to grid column 30 or 31, I mean. And this first cycle is then 30 days, and then 28, 29, 25, and similar as you can see here. We've also managed to add little things, circle-ish things to the correct grid cell on the day that the tag, we have the tag. And we do that by let's close down everything so that you can see. I can't, there. I have the camera in front of part of the screen. So we do that by creating a grid, and it has then 4 rows, and it has 30 columns.
Kan noen åpne den telefonen her?
Vent, Lilian, jeg må fullføre først. Going from grid line, column line 1 to column line 31, that gives us 30 grid cells that way, and 4 grid cells that way. Okay, so that's what we're doing. We're also giving it a grid gap of 0.3, and I would like for the future to not have the gaps on the rows, on the columns, only between the rows. And then for each row, we go into this cycle bar component. And first up, we draw the blue bar that is the length of the cycle. And then for each tag, this is super interesting, because if we would do this with kind of more like traditional CSS, we would have to wrap this tag inside kind of each cell or something like that. But with grid, we're just saying, okay, we have a div. We want to draw that from 1 to 30, or from 1 to 1. So the first row, and then we want to draw it from the first grid column line to the last grid column line. And then for the next one, we say from 1 to 29, and so on. So, and then we're done with that. We've drawn the bar. Then we can go down just below it in the kind of element hierarchy. What's called the DOM. So this will be like below it in the DOM, and we say, okay, we want it to happen on the day. So our key here is the day that the tag has happened, and we say, okay, put it on the grid column from the key to the key, which is here, and then just use the same height, and then give it some different colors. So super interesting grid. I've felt like grid is magical and has superpowers, and it obviously does. So we'll see if I can manage to keep on working with this grid and have something fun then to show you next Sunday. Because the next thing I need to figure out is how to make it so that I can align them instead. Just shift them over to the right side, and also maybe stretch them out. I don't think that's going to work with grid, but it will be interesting to see. But I need the left aligned and the right aligned, as seen in the issue, in the GitHub issue. So I'm going to leave it there, or I'm going to leave it. No, I don't have both of them. I'm going to leave it there. It was a lot of fun trying to learn grid. And I think maybe I would have gotten distracted if I had not done this on stream, but I did it on stream. So I had to just keep plowing through, and we are gotten pretty far. Like, this is super close to what I need it to be. So that's all for this stream. Remember to like and subscribe and all that stuff, and see you next Sunday. Pow, 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 pow. And we're ending.